He has also done a lot of work in the area of capturing our heritage by visiting, recording, researching, and he's put together two wonderful books which we will talk about. And we should consider ourselves as privileged and given this opportunity to meet him in person. I had the opportunity to have a chat with him over lunch today, and I would describe that as one of the most profound experiences in my life. In that short period, the flow of ideas that came out in the conversation from him, unique, very crystal clear, and I've not had them coming in that form before. So now we have an opportunity to hear about him and his work, and the work that is still continuing. But before we get on to our talk for the day, there are one or two things that I'd like to share with you lot here. One, in August this year, in the city of Manchester, we are going to have a big event called the Samagam, which will be held from the 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th of August. And following on the back of it, in Leicester and at Loughborough University, we will have the first UK Sikh Games. Please put that on your calendars, because they are going to be mega events and they are going to be something that we all want to remember for some time as events. But far more important than the events are the gems that we are going to hear today. So with this, may I have the privilege of handing myself over to Amardeep Singh, who will take over from now.
Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh. So I'm going to speak in English, Bhagwan Ji, or you want me to speak in Punjabi or ਕੀ करना? Mix नहीं हो सकता. Because I can speak in 5 languages, but select one language. English, I see my population isn't too good. So you get the 100% of the vote. It's English then. If there's one person who does not, well versed with Punjabi, then I'm trying to reach him. Okay? All right, done. Okay, so thank you so much, Bhagwan Ji, for giving me the opportunity to come to Manchester. I've never been to this city before. I've come to UK many times. It's a beautiful, as I was describing to Amardeep Ji. Amardeep Ji is, I want to thank him also, he's sitting there. Amardeep, just stand up for a minute. He's coming from Milton Keynes, and he's been my friend for the last 10 years since I did my books. And whenever I come to UK, he's always there to devote his time, and he's driving me around, so really appreciate that. And thanks to you all for having come today. We have a lot to cover. Traditionally in the past, I would talk a lot. But this time I'm going to talk to a certain limit, and we are focusing more on the documentaries. At any point of time when I am showing the documentaries and you all feel that you had too much of documentaries and you want me to hear talk, we can change the track. There's no hard and fast. But the way the program's been advertised, it's very documentary heavy. Okay? But I need to give you a bit of a context. So allow me half an hour of just giving you a bit of a context as to who am I, what we have done, what are we talking about, and then we'll just switch on the documentaries and go one after the other. Alright? So let me ask, just for my understanding, the type of audience that I'm talking to out here, how many of you have seen the Gurnanak.com, the docu-series, Gurnanak docu-series? 3, 4, 5. 5, 6, 7. 7. And I think there are 30 people sitting here. Right? So we are at this point of time, approximately 20% penetration. Right? I don't know what is stopping us to seeing it, but I can tell you one thing that I just told as we were walking down with one of the Dr. Satyatine. He's not come up. Oh, there he is. Surinder Singh ji, right? Right. So he was walking down, and I made a small comment to him. We are getting more feedback. I have no way to say which religious denomination is saying. Guru Nanak's documentary series is not about any religion first and foremost. It's not about any ism. It's about trying to understand a person whose philosophy we follow. A religion followed after him, but I don't think he started any religion. That's my belief. He was a man on a quest who was traveling across 22 years across 9 nations. He went. He was having spiritual dialogues. As he says, "Jab lag duniya rahiye Nanak, kich suniye kich kahiye." Till such time you are breathing in this world, listen and impart, seek and impart. The importance to seek first and then impart, right? That's what his whole life is about, and we're trying to understand him from his footsteps. And as we have made it freely available to the world, the thing that is interesting to me is that I don't know what denomination of people are seeing it, but the feedback that we are getting from people, I can only tell you that, because that's, even today, Amrik has been seeing since morning. I've showed him 3 feedbacks that have come to me. There is not a single Sikh who's giving a feedback. Doesn't mean that, I'm not saying literally single, there are people who are giving it. Now, what does it mean? There are 2 reasons. There are 2 hypotheses I can take out. Either the Sikhs are not watching it, or they are not expressive. It can be either of them. So don't mind it, but I'm just telling you my own feelings that it's a massive piece of work that's happened. What is it that is stopping us from seeing it? And why I asked that question is, one of the reasons is here, 20% penetration. So what is it that is required to make it more and more people see? So before I start, there is no barrier. It's freely available. I will leave it for the Gurdwara Management Committee to start pulling in people and start showing 1 episode a week. Right? If people don't want to see it at home, if you can have a better, bigger screen, start pulling in people and start showing them. But you can try and go home and start seeing it. So with that, let's start. Who am I? What have I done? Right? Because Bhagwan Viji said that I do want you to talk a little bit about yourself and other things, because he wants to see behind the scenes a bit, right? So that's what this half an hour is about. Okay, so I've had a very traditional life, just like every other person in this modern world, living in a large city. That is, I've had a very run-of-the-mill corporate life. I have lived 25 years. I'm an engineer by profession. I'm an MBA from University of Chicago. I'm not an author. I've not done any films before this. But in the process of life, I've done these things. But I'm not qualified for it. Okay? But that's not the limiting factor, because concepts are right in your mind. Where you want to take them, human's mind has the potential of making it go whichever way you want to go. But I have 25 years, I lived in the corporate world. I grew up to a certain position of becoming the American Express head for the region for Asia Pacific region. I did that for a long time. And the key out here is, in 2014, something happened in my life. And I can't describe it. I could not describe it at that time. I couldn't understand it actually, sorry. I couldn't understand what happened in 2014. But I went through a major gear change. But now that 11 years have passed by, I can now look back and say, this part of my life is a divine gift that has been given to me. I may be talking to myself, but I firmly believe what has happened in the last 11 years, it's a divine gift. That's why these works are happening. Everyone is blessed with divinity. Everyone's trying to do their own stuff in this thing. But to make a gear change, we have to keep one thing in mind. From the 9 to 5 job that we are doing, from morning to evening, to earn the bread and butter, to support the family, to support our children, that's a part of our existence. But to grow in creative space, you have to try and make yourself go on a path where you're adding new skills on the other things that you're doing, other than just the 9 to 5 bread earning kind of a rush. That is what the life is defined today as. What do we define success in life as? Success in life today is defined as designation you hold, the bank balance that you have, the status that you have, the properties that you have, the kind of car that you drive. Truly, I've had all that, and I've kind of given it, these were all desires. I'm living for the last 11 years, I'm living a comfortable life. but I'm living with my needs. I don't need my desires to be satisfied. Because unless you give up your desires and get down to the point of managing your needs, life can exist perfectly fine. But when you start doing the managing your needs, there's a difference between desires. Desires, whole, I want more and more. Need is what you need to exist, right? And life can exist fine. I'm living a very comfortable life. But I can tell you those 25 years that I spent in the corporate world, when I stopped breathing for that. So the divine gift that has come by was that for so many years, from the age of 17 years, there's a parallel Amardeep that was developing unconsciously, and this is why I see a lot of youth sitting out here and I'm giving this message to the youth. Whatever you like, start doing it parallelly to the bread and butter job that you're doing. You like to do gardening? Become the gardener. Right? There's a message I always give to the youth, don't follow your passion. Har koi kehta passion follow karo. I say don't follow your passion. Create your passion. There's a huge difference between following passion and creating your passion. Creating the passion is you become the passion. You do it day in and day out. If you like cooking, you become the cook. Right? But keep doing it to a point where, so in my history I see, in my life I see from 17 years of age, unknowingly I was very fascinated with the history of the region of Northwest Frontier Province, Kashmir, Punjab, and I was reading history at a very young age. In 5 to 6 years, I kind of read most of the things in that region, and then I graduated to philosophies. And philosophy was not just my faith's philosophy. I firmly believe that to understand the philosophy of yourself and your faith, you have to understand the other philosophies. Because you have to know what is light, you need to know what is darkness. And I'm not trying to say darkness because other faiths are dark. I'm not trying to say that. Don't get me wrong. What I'm trying to say is that to compare and to understand, you have to know the other things. So I started spending 5 to 6 years in philosophy. Came to a time when I started delving into musicology. Musicology. I can pretty much recognize all the rags. I have tried to sing them. I still croak, but I have no problems, no qualms. But I've spent 6 to 7 years mastering to understand that, you see this docu-series that we're talking about, huge body of musicology is inside this. But that couldn't have happened unless I was living the rags for so many years, right? Then came a time, don't get surprised, because I'm sitting in a religious institution, I became an atheist. Fine, nothing wrong. Because, again, if you're anchored in the right principles, I experienced to that, again to me, darkness was to make me understand what is it that I'm losing. What is it that I'm trying to compare myself? And I became that. I have no qualms about it. This is my life's journey. I'm not saying what's right or what's wrong. And then came a time, about 4 years, I lost faith in it. Because I'd read so much of philosophy, my mind was kind of bubbling with things and I was getting, and my corporate pressures were rising and came to a point where I was representing the American Express on a $4.5 billion case in American courts. My blood pressure was high, my body was peeling off, and I did not think I will live for more than a few years. That's the kind of degradation that had happened. I think that's where the change started happening. These things had to happen. The life had to go into a particular direction that door had to be shut down. And there came a time where this verse resonated to me. When I became an atheist, this word one day resonated to me and said, Khalak khalak, khalak mein khalik, Kabir ji's word. Khalak is the creator. Creator is the creation. Creation is the creator. Khalak khalak, khalak mein khalik. The day that came to my mind, I said, what am I searching for? What am I searching for? I asked myself. And that day I picked up a camera and I started my journey in photography. Now, that photography as a passion became me itself, and in 2 years' time I started writing for magazines. My articles started getting published in Asian Geographic and other places, and I would go to certain places, remote areas, experience, because I found that photographers were not expressing themselves in words, and writers seldom are able to do photography and visual and bring it together. So the unique mix was bringing your experiences with the visual aspect and putting it together. That was all a preparation. Now, here's why am I telling you this? Because 2014, something happened in my corporate world, and I will again not shy from saying this. Home Dirag Rog hai, but my home was very high. My ego was very high at that time. In corporate world, you cannot succeed without your ego being high, because you have to be like crabs. You have to ride on someone else to go up, right? And I was doing the same thing, and my ego was very high to a point where I decided to move out of American Express, and it was an egoistic decision. And I walked out, little realizing that I was not to get a job anywhere else. Now, mostly people will shy from telling this reality because it's pulling your ego down that you are not able to get a job, right? And I was about 48 years at that time. Anywhere I applied, I was not getting a job. I'm proud of saying that now. There's nothing to feel shy about. That's my life's journey. I was not getting anywhere a job. I couldn't understand. I went to a depression. The bedrock of creativity is depression. Why? Dukh daru, sukh rog paya. If you understand, Guru Nanak is not saying dukh in the realm of physical dukh. Dil da jada dukh hunda hai na, andar da, wo daru ban jati. Daru is not as we take in the Punjab's context of, daru is a Farsi word, medicine. Dukh jidi hai, wo healing potion ban jati hai. Dukh daru, sukh rog baya. सुख जब वर्ल्डली हैप्पीनेस इज लिव कर रहे हैं 9 to 5 मेरा पे चेक आ रहा है मैं सब कुछ कर रहे हैं वो रोग बढ़ जाता है वो ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ क्रिएटिविटी ਵੱਲ ਜਾਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦਾ that doesn't allow you to go towards creativity right so ਦੁੱਖ दारू सुख रोग ਪਿਆ now the point at that time was that at the bottom of my depression this thought came to me and this is the slide where I want to start from. The history that I was reading at the age of 17 years, the question was, if you can see this small pointer here, the mark, the British came to India and ruled for about 150 years, having come as an East India Company from Calcutta, and they advanced westwards. After about 150 years, they entered Punjab, which was the last kingdom that became a part of the so-called British India at that time. And that was the year after the Second Anglo-Sikh War in 1849. Lahore Darbar fell and it became part of the British India. 98 years later, 1947, they decide to leave India. And India is divided in three parts. One is West Pakistan, East Pakistan and India, which today is Bangladesh, Pakistan and India. And this line that divided it, if you see where this line is going, this is the Lahore Darbar out here, and the way this line is going, 70% of that land, which was ruled by Ranjit Singh, which the British lands where you had an independent kingdom, if your people move away from there, is that all that your forefathers did? When you read the chapters of the history, they were the golden chapters. So many other things were there. And all that was finished off and erased from memory. So my question was, before me, there was only one person by the name of Iqbal Kaisar Sahab, who in 1999 did a book called Historical Gurdwaras in Pakistan. A good book, see, knowledge comes in layers. If I say I have done something unique, no. All my works are based on adding a layer of knowledge on someone else's work. That's how knowledge expands. Right? So if, I'm not saying that I'm the only one who's done it. I've only given a different form factor, different presentation. His book was good. It was black and white book about Gurdwaras in Pakistan. But they didn't have a story. He was a, with all due credit to him, he was a school teacher who in the year 1993 started clicking black and white photographs of these ruins of buildings lying in different places in West Punjab. And he published his book with some 99 or 98 Gurdwaras, and he called it Historical Gurdwaras in Pakistan, and he wrote two lines. It was like a museum play. And I would look at that and I would say, my legacy is bigger than this, because when I read the history, the formation of forts along the river Indus up till the Khyber Pass, the creation of the entire, the entire narrative as you see today in East Punjab, none of the Gurdwara there are any frescoes left. But in the remains of those ruins, I am reading there was that the entire community used to have a very different story. So where are those? One is called Lost Heritage, the Sikh Legacy in Pakistan. The other is the Quest Continues, Lost Heritage, the Sikh Legacy in Pakistan. Now if anyone.com, and from there you will get link to the Singh brothers, and you can order there or you can look at it in Amazon. But these are now good about 10 years into publication. This was the first time after partition, a publication that had happened where across 126 cities and villages, not just Punjab. The problem with us is that a Nanak Panth has been reduced only to the vision of Khalsa Panth today. Sorry if I'm saying this, because our Guru Nanak nu manan wale bade sige. The entire Sindh, entire Balochistan, all non-turban wearing, non-turban wearing people of non-Islamic origin in these regions are all the followers of Guru Nanak. I am no one to pass any judgment on them. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Gilgit-Baltistan and Kashmir in Pakistan. So it's a huge documentation that happened. Personally, I feel good because the works that we have done have seeded a lot of change in the last 11 years. I've written my stories. I've not written my stories. I've written a story inside this, but I've not written my story. There's a difference out there. The story that's written out here is of an exploration to tell you what I till date in my documentary series also, we've kept ourselves away, because I firmly believe the energy that's helping us into these very challenging zones would stop helping us if we make this into our story. If you go to a YouTube video, what you got after me, the point, aapne iska naam Lost Heritage ka rakha hai. Why we call it Lost Heritage? Why have we not shown Nankana Sahib on the front? My expression was that if my Muslim friend cannot be taken inside a Gurdwara with me, and I'm begging the staff there to let him inside, that means I have lost it. Let's accept it. This broken monument, the question was, why have you not shown Nankana Sahib? Why are you showing the negativity out here? Well, my legacy is lost. I have not minced words out here. I faced a lot of challenges. I was blocked from the country, but somehow the positive energy was helping me. I went inside second time, this happened. But today I'm very happy because this particular monument, which was a barrier to us for a long time for the work that we had done, has got renovated. Unless you start documenting, you cannot bring about change. That's what I believe. Since birth is only about 555 years past, right? It's a very young legacy and it's destroyed totally. Buddhist legacy runs into hundreds of years, more than 2000. Those sites are maintained today. It may not be that I can see the fruits of this documentation in my lifetime, but unless you make the awareness, you can't hope for change. That's the simple. Got corrupted because we left our lands. Hand to heart, what is written in the Guru Granth Sahib, what we practice today, morphing into a different culture, there's nothing wrong with it, but it is, the catalyst is partition. Our language is important. I do everything, and I'm not the person who's claiming that I can do everything. But I've done my part, I know. But then what happened is, so there are two documentaries also on the YouTube, if you'll find in my channel, you'll see some of this while doing the second work, audio work. done PhD. Again, I say my work is to give a different form factor, different presentation factor to the work. But there are people who spend their lives studying those earliest works. Dr. Kripal Singh's Janam Sakhi Param making Guru Nanak stop. There's a YouTube video which says Guru Nanak in America. Do you believe he went to America? Sorry, I don't want to talk about this right now. Side with the army sport, give it a few years and it becomes Guru Nanak has come here. How do you validate that? Okay, so our method to the madness was the earliest text, 65 years to 150 years. And it started with that foundational work. And we started this journey which took us across 9 nations. We have mapped 100% of the sites covered in the earliest texts. And these are covering cities in the countries Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Tibet and China, not China, because some people say Nanking. Guru Nanak went to Nanking, Nanak. Come on. Just because it sounds Nanking doesn't mean that he has been, that's associated with Guru Nanak, right? He's been to Meru Parvat, Kailash, that gets mentioned. India, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. That's the scope. And me and my wife took a journey of about 17 months. A lot of challenges. If people think this was a bed of roses or carpets were being rolled, I can tell you I can't repeat it. If I would simply say we've had near life missing experiences. We've had people killed in front of us. We've had a drone shot at with AK-47s. We've had been picked up. There has been a lot of time. But that's not the story. That is not the story you'll find as this docu-series. That's a story probably for some other day if I'm still breathing. But I've got my plate full with other projects. If some other day before I die, I think I would like to write that story. But that's not the story we're telling. Because Guru Nanak deserves the utmost respect and you have to just be a narrator and tell his story and don't mix yourself inside that. So that's how it's been told. So we did this entire journey and I'll show you this small documentary here. Documentary trailer, and then we quickly moved on to what the next project is, and then we'll start the screenings.
Fearlessly challenged the binary constructs of society and relentlessly opposed gender, religious, racial and class inequalities. He had his own message of oneness of humanity and
Sorry man, I'll not take the mic, but can anyone hear me? Okay. The reason being technology. Website, photo khich lo, thegurunanak.com. Right? If anyone wants to click the picture, I'm stopping here for literally half a minute. Click this, the Guru Nanak pictures and let me know and I'll start. Go to thegurunanak.com. It's available in 5 languages: English, Punjabi, Hindi, Urdu and Shahmukhi. Shahmukhi is what Punjabi written in to 1 hour, and see 1 episode. And slowly every week keep progressing. In 6 months you will finish the entire series. But someone who's observing it well will understand what's happening here. But I want to give you one pointer out here. There are 2 voices that are singing Guru Nanak Shabas. There are 206. There's a female voice. Unu tusi thoda samajh lo and then we'll move to the next thing. Whenever the male voice sings, it is the Shabad. We're not depicting Guru Nanak. His voice. The only depiction out here is the oldest artworks. We are not, but that's historical artworks. Janam Sakhi tradition there. But we are not making anything. Right? As creators, he sang. But keep in mind, we are trying to recreate the footsteps of a spiritual leader who was born 555 years back. At that time, it was 550 years, right? He has a dialogue. There are no more Nath Jogis sitting there. The Nath Parampara is finished. Kanfatta Jogis are finished. So you are trying to recreate that from these sites, right? Presentation is a female voice in this series, who's Salima Khwaja from Lahore. And she has sang again in the rags in which Guru Nanak's, we are not going to give any answers. When I face a free of charge, by the way,
I don't like to talk numbers, but I'll just make you think about it. Filmmaking is very, very expensive. This series has costed more than $3 million over a 5 point spending time. If someone's done it, then what's the point? I mean, like, and then I don't want to be egoistic, but these thoughts come from a divine energy that comes and motivates you to get on that path. So the first project was, as I said, the mapping of cities in twice. In those times, spiritualists, and Baba Farid was 250 years before Guru Nanak. Need everything to be written down. But in those days, Muh Zabani, as they say, oral tradition was. And in the oral tradition, what Guru Nanak did was something which was very unique, and that's the need for this project, where it's coming from. Guru Nanak started, and there are 14 more spiritualists from across the subcontinent, from Bengal, Bhagat Jaydev, Kabir ji from UP, Ravidas ji from UP, Ramanand, Namdev ji, commentaries. To introduce each of these saints, and plus introduce Guru Nanak to you now in a documentary series. Documentary series is going to take you a long time to see. But if you see in the internet, it's all myth and mythologies. Is that what you want to present Guru Nanak? So you need to do something on him to present him in 50 minutes flat. Plus, and in 4 languages. Now making audio-visual content based on 920 shabads of Guru Nanak to be recorded in audio format and in a video format with the meanings, translations to be re-translated. Guru Granth Sahib is gender neutral. Indian languages have gender aspect inside it, but you can present the words in what the Guru Nanak's philosophy is, gender neutrality. Divinity has got no gender. The translations that we are showing in the Gurdwaras are 50 years old. They were written by Sant Singh Khalsa. Again, we have due respect to him. It has served its purpose. It needs to be taken to the next level now. Guru Nanak says that, which means this whole form is intertwined into oneness. It's not God is one. It's intertwined into oneness, which means every aspect is intertwined into oneness. And that aspect is the most important aspect. And if you start doing the metaphoric translations, which you'll see in the documentary series, translations that are existing, every translation has been re-attempted. And the name of the documentary series is Allegory. Punjabi Sanat. This means metaphoric understanding. And this needs to be re-attempted now. And I'm not saying we are going to be the perfect ones, but we want to add the next layer of what fault points we see. And someone else can improvise on it. If you'd like to attempt to take on the other gurus also. But right now, this is a plateful. And that's what we're doing. So I'll end here, and I will make a small, humble appeal. If anyone thinks that anyone wants to talk to us, you can take my card. I'll leave the card out here. You can reach out to Bhagwant Virji. But if anyone wants to support, we are looking for support, because this is being given back to the community. We give our money for langar, but these products take a lot of resources to make. Right? And so we are looking for support. Anyone thinks we are on the right path, we are looking for support. Come back to us. And I've been asked to show some parts of the documentary. I'm going to request Virji, we'll start adding 200 shabads every 6 months, till the point we do the entire 1,680 odd shabads. Right? So that's what the project is. So I will ask you all. There are 3 documentaries that are to be shown, but I'm being conscious of the time. We are at 7:20. We started a bit late. Guru Nanak documentary will take 50 minutes. There is one of Baba Farid, which will take about 12 minutes. You want to see all 3? You'll have to sit here for that long. You are willing to? You will not disappoint me and start getting up and leaving? Huh? No. Commitment? I'll feel bad if you start getting up and sleep. You know? Even if you have not got it right, please don't get up, because let's sit down if you want to. This is